Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People age 5 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lulia. Chance of snow tonight, low of 10 below zero with a wind chill of 20 below zero. Then Wednesday, snow expected, high of 7 above, wind chills of 17 below.
Get the appliances you've been dreaming of for less at Warner Stellian's year-end clearance. Shop closeouts, scratch and dent, and floor models. Plus, buy more to save more. Take 10% off 2 red tags and 15% off 3 at Warner Stellian's year-end clearance.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies are trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Ogama, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Right on. Hey, we do the news here, Ogama, and there's a lot of weather news. I don't know what you got cooking today, but it's weighing heavily on us. It's national and everything. We're going to have like very cold weather here in Minnesota and very windy snow and for a couple days. And some people call that winter, and I call it, wow, I need to get a condo in Florida is what I call it. Oh, wow.
You know, I seen somebody post the other day, I don't know how many more Midwest winters I got in me, dog. And that's kind of how I feel. Yeah, so I do have a little bit of weather news today, Robert. Bushu, everybody. This is Ogama Ganua Kwe. I'm a citizen of the Red Lake Nation in northern Minnesota. Most of Minnesota, a big chunk of Minnesota, is in a winter storm warning. There is a wind chill advisory in effect from 6 p.m. this evening until 10 a.m. Wednesday in parts of north and central and northeast Minnesota, pretty much stretching from about, I don't know, about Reamer area all the way down to just about the bottom half of Mille Lacs Lake. So in that area is where we're at for the winter storm wind chill effect, but we also have a winter storm warning that's in effect from 6 a.m. on Wednesday tomorrow to noon on Saturday. That is a really long time to be in a winter storm warning. There's going to be heavy snow expected, anywhere between 5 to 7 inches. Winds gusting as high as 45 miles an hour and wind chills as low as 30 below zero. That is Crow Wing, Northern Aiken, and Southern Aiken counties, tribal lands of the Mille Lacs Band, Big Sandy Lake, and East Lake areas. That is just for today and tomorrow. And I do believe that they are expecting that storm to also hit the metro shortly after it hits up north here. So it's going to be another doozy, right, Robert?
Yes, doozy's a good word for an old person, so that was good, Ogama. You're getting older now. A doozy, yes.
Yeah, well, the last time we had a storm like this, South Dakota, North Dakota, many of the law enforcement and weather agencies were saying things like, "We are not kidding. Like, don't try to go places." Like I think there's a lot of people who can't help but have to go places too. We have our people who work in retail, we have our people who work in healthcare, we have our people who work in schools or other places where, even if there is a winter storm warning, they're not able to get to work, they're still doing work. There are people who don't have a choice but to be out in this weather, and there also are unhoused relatives who also don't have a choice but to be out in this type of weather. So as we come into another week and another weekend of going through strong winds, cold weather, snow, and whiteout conditions into Thursday and Friday, and dangerous wind chills through Christmas, I want to remind everybody to please slow down and arrive alive, and to be kind to those relatives. You never know if the person who's driving 10 miles an hour in front of you, it may be somebody with a brand new baby in the car. It may be a brand new driver. It may be an elder who is not trusting their reflexes anymore, and they want to go really slow to make sure that they're safe. Remember to be kind to those relatives and to not get angry and just blow past them and put yourself and other people in danger. And if you can, extend a hand out to our unhoused relatives. Offer things if you can: socks, warm mittens, extra coats, food, and warm drinks are also always appreciated to our unhoused relatives. If you have the time, make sure you can make a donation to a local shelter or a soup kitchen for our relatives, because it is going to be dangerously cold. And I
Yeah.
hate to see it in the news, but I know every time we have one of these big storms, Robert, we lose an unhoused relative or a small child or somebody in this type of weather.
I just got to give Angelica a quick shout out for sitting in on the news yesterday for you, Ogama. We
Yes.
talked about that, and she had really good points. That her mom talks about having almost like a little kit in your car, whether it's money, whether it's mittens, whether it's hats, to be able to give to our homeless people that are out there needing help. So, two things with that, Ogama. I want to give Angelica a big shout out for stepping up and doing the news yesterday, and then also really contributing with a lot of really good information like that.
Yes, absolutely. And that is so important that we take that time and offer those respect to our unhoused relatives, because unhoused or housed, a relative is a relative. And we need to let go of that colonized mindset that a relative who's unable to be housed at this time is somehow less than any other relative that you would find. They deserve to be warm and to be fed and taken care of just like everybody else. And unfortunately, the US government system has not caught up with that yet. But as relatives and good relatives to our people, we are able to do that and, extend that to all people. Mitakoyas and all people are.
Ogama too, we have uh, $17 billion that we can get from the government. We have money. I always talk about, one B-2 bomber is $1 billion, and let's just make one less, you
Right.
know? Let's just make one less. I mean, how many times can you blow up the world and be, a stealth bomber? Let's just make one less and help our relatives that are less fortunate and, be a Christian, I guess, maybe. Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's definitely some hypocrisy that I think people, at this time of year, it's always important to acknowledge within some people that we need to, walk our talk. And if we really believe these things, we need to take the time to take action on those things. So, I do have one more piece of news here in the Resist Line 3, Stop Line 3 movement. There is another Flood the Courts event tomorrow, Wednesday, December 21st. First at 8:30 a.m. It is at the St. Louis County Courthouse on 5th Avenue in Duluth, Minnesota. It's been about 2 years now since construction on Line 3 started, and the court system is still cycling through water protectors. And many of the people who stood up to take a stand against Line 3 have been subjected to violence, and treaties are continuing to be dishonored. So,
Oops, I think I lost you there.
it's okay. I think I'm having. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it
Okay,
sounded like
sorry. I think my mic just went out, so hang tight with me. But um, so Flood the Courts event in Duluth tomorrow on January 21st at 8 a.m. And there's also going to be an in-person jury trial January 10th, 11th, and 12th for the Aiken County District Court. And if you remember, I did report on Aiken County, who had their sheriff in with a bit of a news bit basically saying that he was taking action to do illegal things against water protectors. I believe it was The Intercept or another one of those news outlets that had done something on that. But and then we also have Winona LaDuke, who's continuing in court. She is the last remaining Shell River defendant, and the court has dismissed charges against others, but the state is refusing to dismiss her case. And December 14th, she appeared in court to continue to be a guardian for the Shell River, but there's no other updates on that. So for those of you who have been looking for updates on that, we have a little bit of news on that. And then also, Robert, I don't know if you know this, but the Seminole tribe is now running the Mirage on the Las Vegas Strip. 3,000 room hotel and 80 acres is the first on the Las Vegas Strip to be run by a tribe. So congratulations to the Seminole Nation and Hard Rock International owner and operator for their new acquisition of the Mirage. And best of luck to you as you continue that.
Seminoles, stay out of our territory. That's all I have to say. Oh, we'll be right back. It's Hard Rock Cafe is what it is. So we'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. We got Nancy Beaulieu of Bemidji 350, MN 350. We'll be right back. Stay with us, please.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Health insurance that fits my budget? I'm covered. I needed health coverage I could count on and afford. MNsure helped me find a plan that works for me, and they helped me save money. Did you know that most Minnesotans qualify for savings through MNsure? And they have free experts who can help you sign up for coverage. Go to mnsure.org today and get started and get covered. That's mnsure.org. mnsure.org.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Hey everyone, this portion of the show is brought to you by MN Sure. If you're looking for a way to afford health insurance in the new year, make sure you head over to mnsure.org. Most Minnesotans qualify for assistance paying with their health care and their prescriptions. Again, that's mnsure.org.
Hey, thanks, Ogama. Hey, we have Nancy Beaulieu on of MN350, Bemidji 350, and just all around a groovy person. And you're up there in the deep north. How cold are you?
Oh dear, Robert, I haven't even looked. I just gonna take a look, see at all the house plants I have, and try to remind myself of the warm weather coming and not focus on the cold. But I want to reflect on what Ogama just talked about, our homeless relatives. And, it's usually the poor helping the poor. And, sometimes we just got to dig a little deep, look in between the cushions and find a way to help support them. Because, on Monday, Sunday, actually, I dug deep and I'm poor, just like most of our relatives. But I went and gave what I could, and it meant a lot to them. And I normally don't give myself a shout out like that, but I felt, with hard times, the inflation, there's a lot of people out there that could really use support during this holiday season, during these cold weather temps. And this is the season of giving. It's more than gift giving and wanting that something you've wanted all year long. We have to learn to let go of those wants and help our people that have needs. And so this year I'm doing it a little bit different, and it's giving back to the people that need it the most. And I remember being there myself. So it makes me feel better, and it really helps them too. And that's what it's really
Yeah.
about. And
I remember being so poor I couldn't pay attention.
right, I just want to give a shout out to all the programs that were actually out there giving me a hand up, and not a handout, but really believing in me. Because again, that's how I became the person that I am today. Just not in the world of work, but in my artistic ways, and all kinds of goodness that I found out that I have. And me and my son just talked about this yesterday, how so much talent is lost because our people are, left at the starting line. You ever watch that video where they, the kids race for $100, and they start off by asking, if you have both parents in the house, step forward. I was stuck at the start, and it was really difficult being, a youth and wanting, to be a better person, but I didn't have the opportunity to be the basketball star I wanted to be. But it's us that have to help make that difference, and be there for our children. And so, Robert, I have a overdue shout out, and I want to give that to my daughter Katie North, my son-in-law Tom Barrett, for their hard work and commitment in making the Red Lake Nation Youth Shelter possible. And the shelter just opened up recently in October. And the Red Lake Nation Youth Shelter provides free shelter that is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including holidays for youth ages 5 to 17 experiencing immediate personal or family crisis. And it's one of a kind, first of a kind thing that happened in Red Lake, and it was an honor to be there for the open house. And my daughter has a background in social work. She's a graduate of BSU, and just her upbringing with me. I used to be a foster mom, kind of opened the doors to my daughter getting herself involved in social work and wanting to make a difference, because I came from dysfunction. Most of my aunties and uncles and my mother, they were alcoholics. And it was the community at the Waite House in Minneapolis that came and saved us. And so I felt as an adult, I needed to give something back, and then break the dysfunction that many of our families experience because of disparities that the system has given us. And so I want to thank my daughter for being a better mom than I was, and a big shout out to her partner Tom, who has a background in social studies and political science, and he's the CEO of the Red Lake Boys and Girls Club, and he's also a school board member in Red Lake, and they both teach basketball for the Little League, the middle school, and the high school junior varsity. And both of these two are so committed, and they have so much passion to make a difference and be there for the kids who don't have a positive role model otherwise. And going back to what I was talking about, my childhood in Minneapolis, it was those people at that Waite House that didn't ask questions and didn't put me in a place where I didn't belong, in a foster care system. And they believed in me and my sisters. And I want to give a big shout out to Angel. And Angel, I'll never know or see her again. She was a Black woman. She had a big afro, beautiful woman, and she took care of us. My mom couldn't, her in the White House. And so, you ever hear of that thing, it takes a village to raise a child? There's a lot of
Yeah.
truth. So a big shout out to Tom and Katie for making it possible. And they're fine examples of what we can do as everyday people to be that difference, and inspire other people to do the same, and have our role models for our children to look up to.
Well, I really feel like that was a great story. And what a great name. Angel was your angel. And those are great stories to hear, and to pay it forward. And your kids are a reflection of you. And I know also your son-in-law is a rapper too, and he does good work and with the kids, and they all groove and dig on him too for that reason too. So there's art all around, Nance.
Right. And many people know Tom as Thomas X, and I couldn't ask for a better example of a son-in-law, and not to say that these are the perfect people in the whole world. Everybody has their issues, but when it comes to getting through those issues, those hard times, and still being strong enough for the children, really says a lot to me. And I couldn't be more grateful than having, raised my children in the right way, despite the dysfunction I come from. And sometimes, I had to be vulnerable and admit where I come from. And it's a sad past, but you know what? I took all those bad things and made something better for myself. And when I foster children, I always told them, no matter how bad it gets, you still have control of your thoughts and what you can do moving forward. So I think I was an inspiration to a lot of the foster kids that came through my home. And I primarily focused on our Native children because I know the mistreatment in the foster care system is really rough. And many of these non-Native homes have become the new residential homes, residential schools, I should say, for our children. And I'm going to ask some of our relatives who can have capacity or make the capacity to be a foster parent, please do that, because our children need us. And it is us, people like myself and my daughter, and to help make that difference, and create those beautiful spaces where our children feel they have hope. We all need hope, Robert.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, we got a couple minutes here, and again, great stories and a great feeling. And we always get a lot of comments when you're on, Nancy, a lot of positive comments. Shantea says she loves you. And I just want to switch gears here this last minute, and we can talk about whatever you want. The next segment is in Ogama's report. It seems like Winona LaDuke is the last person standing up there in court. Are they trying to make a example of her, or what have you heard up there?
Actually, Robert, I haven't been paying too much or much attention lately, and because I focus a lot on my work. But I think Winona is a powerful woman, and I think they're intimidated by her and what she can bring to the table. So, a big shout out to her and all the water protectors that are, still in the court system. And again, even our Firelight defendants are non-native. Their case was turned down for a dismissal, so they too have to go into a court. Oh, I don't even know when that's going to happen, but I know it's a trial court, and again, I'll have to be a witness. But a big miigwech to all those water protectors. They were courageous. They sacrificed, because we're all busy, but you know what? We really need to prioritize protecting our water and making sure that the 7 generations have, all the good things that we had. So again, a big shout out to all the people still facing trial. And I think, the judges should come to an understanding that treaties still matter and we're still here. And our case proved to the state that the state of Minnesota lacks subject matter jurisdiction over the Anishinaabe protecting their natural resources on or off the reservation. And I think Clearwater County and the White Earth Court kind of, I should say Clearwater County itself, but the sheriff really understood that clean water makes sense to all living things.
Hey, we're here with Nancy Beaulieu, Bemidji 350. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me, Wen. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
As we head towards colder weather, it's important to make sure you're up to date on vaccinations and protected from COVID-19. The Native American Community Clinic is now administering the updated Pfizer bivalent booster. The updated bivalent booster helps protect against the original COVID-19 strain and against newer Omicron variants. And it will help restore protection that has decreased since previous vaccinations. People age 5 and older are now recommended to get an updated bivalent booster dose at least 2 months after their last COVID-19 shot. That means the bivalent booster may be given after a person's primary series or after their last booster shot, regardless of what brand you received before. Even if you've already had COVID-19, you should get vaccinated. Right now, at the Native American Community Clinic, you can get COVID-19 vaccines, including updated boosters, at the same visit as other vaccines. However, if you've received a recent monkeypox vaccine, you may need to wait 4 weeks before you can get a COVID-19 vaccine, and you should discuss this with your provider. Schedule your vaccination appointment with the Native American Community Clinic by calling 612-872-8086.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, troublemaker, and host of the Bradcast. Weeknights at 7 on AM 950.
Check out the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis on the corner of 29th and Johnson for a delicious meal any time of the day. Breakfast favorites include Jean's Mean Fried Egg Sandwich and the Drunken Banana French Toast. While for dinner, try selections like the fabulous Swedish meatballs or wild rice gumbo. Hazel's Northeast is located on the corner of 29th Avenue and Johnson Street, just a few minutes away from 35W. View Hazel's menu, make a reservation, or place a takeout order at hazelsnetogo.com.
Thanks to everyone who supported AM 950 for the last 3 years. Good news, the AM 950 2023 calendar is ready to go, featuring photos I took around Minnesota and important progressive dates. If you sign up to become a member with a one-time $50 membership or recurring monthly membership of $10, you'll receive a 2023 AM 950 calendar as a thank you gift. Go to am950radio.com to become a member and receive a calendar. That's am950radio.com. Thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Don't be surprised if you hear your name when you walk into St. Paul Corner Drug. Our experienced staff make getting to know you their top priority. Developing a trusting relationship with our patients is the first step in providing personalized care that achieves the best outcomes possible. Make certain all your providers know who you are and what your needs are. It is a vital step in your well-being. Stop by St. Paul Corner Drug today to start a relationship with a staff that cares. St. Paul Corner Drug, pharmacy the way it should be.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Beaulieu. Chance of snow tonight, low of 10 below zero with a wind chill of 20 below zero. Then Wednesday, snow expected, high of 7 above, wind chills of 17 below. Whether you're dining in or dining out, Eat Local Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors will make your next meal one to remember. Visit the full list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants and food purveyors at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Bonjour, I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Hey, this portion of the show was brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey. We're here with Nancy Beaulieu of MN 350 and Bemidji 350, and we're just kind of talking about gratitude here in the first segment. On you connect the dots backwards, and all the people that have helped me in my lifetime, and trying to pay it forward. And you're doing that, Nancy, with your kids, your grandkids, and all the work you do out there. And it all came from somewhere. And you were talking about angels, so that was pretty heavy duty. A little story you just said or just told us.
Right. My twin sister, actually I have a twin, but she says we should find Angel. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So I don't know how to begin that process, but someday soon I'm going to do that because I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful for a lot of things today, Robert. One of them being my tribe, Leech Lake here in northern Minnesota, is going to create and adopt their own water standards set above the state and federal water standards. They're going to do that in January 2023, and they're going to flex their sovereignty and self-determination to protect and preserve our way of life here on Leech Lake. And, they too know that water is life. So a big shout out to Leech Lake Nation for being strong. So it means a lot to me. And again, we see more and more of, these tribes and people talking about treaties because they still matter, and it fuels the fire of me continuing to do what I do. So yeah, there was a lot of good news around here. Again, a shout out to the Beltrami County DFL organizing unit for allowing me to run for the director's position. And, back that up a little bit, Robert, when we first started going to the precinct caucuses, when we brought the treaty resolution forth, the treaty resolution actually got, actually received number one in the votes, got most of the votes, treaty resolution.
Wow.
And then we had an opportunity to take it to the Minnesota DFL State Convention in Rochester. We got just a little over 90% of delegates to support the treaty resolution. And so moving forward collectively, we want to build on community based on people power locally. So we're going to start to lean in. I'm going to teach them how to do that as one of the directors, and remind them that these votes are our voices, and that this DFL party organizing, when it comes to voting, is not just going to be here to take our votes anymore and run off with our votes and forget about the issues, because those issues do matter to us. And I think in midterms 2022, we found ways where we can further lean in, and it's really about caring and listening and being there for our people when they have needs that need to be addressed. So I'm really excited to move that community building forward with the help of the Beltrami County Organizing Unit. And again, I will not let them tokenize this, because that's not what we're about here. So, and yesterday, Robert,
Yeah.
we had some even more exciting news. And we had a historical moment at the Bemidji City Council just yesterday. The tribal flags of the Red Lake, Leech Lake, and Whiter tribal nations were posted as an act of solidarity in its ongoing efforts and continued partnership. So it seems huge, but it's also small. It's kind of like a land acknowledgement. Those flags can fly, but we need some action. So there's a lot of good work to do, and I think it means that as a Native community here in northern Minnesota, we're going to show up to these city council meetings and hold their feet to a fire in a good way, Robert, and remind them that we're still here, and that flying those flags is only a small step forward, and there's so much more work to do, because we know there's discrimination and failure to honor the treaties are still out there. So we must remember that the disparities and the gaps that remain in our community, as a new council comes in, that there's more work to build those bridges and build our community. So a big Chimiquich to Dan Jourdain. He's a Red Lake band member, and he's the current, this is his last term though, so it's sad to see him move on, but he's a counselor at large, and he was instrumental into making this happen, along with Audrey Thayer, who was one of our elders from the Whiter tribal nation. Again, I don't think this would have ever happened had our relatives not ran for office, because it probably would have been mostly non-Native people there. And I'm sure they would have never even discussed the issue of flying our flags and building bridges between the three tribal nations that bring economic prosperity to Beltrami County. And so listening to our speakers yesterday, we had Daryl Seekey, the Red Lake chairman, we had Mike Fairbanks, the White Earth chairman, and we had Leroy Staples. He is our District 3 rep from Leech Lake. Our tribal chairman couldn't make it, but they all addressed the discrimination and the economic prosperity we bring to this county, and how we must heal and work together collectively to make better things happen. And I feel, along with this relationship building, our treaty win, and people like myself continuing to show up and build relationships built around treaty, is really key to moving forward and finding change in places that we would never expect them.
Yeah. Hey, we're all over Wisconsin. We're on 11 other stations live on the Civic Media Network. And I just want to, when we talk treaties too, I just want to talk about the 1855 treaty that the Ho-Chunk, Winnebago, near Long Prairie and Blue Earth River signed a treaty along with the other 13 tribes here. And Ho-Chunk are treaty people here in Minnesota too, and we just all have to remember that. And I like to bring that up because I am Ho-Chunk.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people don't know that, and that's why I say it's always important to listen to your show, Robert, because knowledge is power. And I think the more that we teach our folks and build awareness and relationships moving forward, I think there's a lot of goodness that we can do in building our people power, our power. This is our power, Robert. And thinking about our work at the Minnesota DFL and in some of the other spaces that we hold, we like to see ourselves as a treaty people delegation, because again, treaties are nonpartisan. And so when we talk DFL, I'm not really DFL. I'm really a treaty person, Robert, and I'm there to remind that party. Been kind of knocking on the Republicans' doors too, but they don't like to answer. But we're going to continue to show up, and we're really excited. One of the things that we're looking forward to is having a Treaty 101 presentation at the Libertarians Convention in April of 2020.
Wow.
So yeah, we're being called on to show up and spread that awareness, and that's a big part of my work.
Wow, the libertarians, they're coming forward here. They want to know about treaties. That's awesome. Being 61 years old and not being brought up with any of this knowledge of treaties or what our people did or what we've gone through, and kind of being in the inner city here, hiding out in cracks until a junior in high school. I always talk about, is when we were able to. I was a junior in high school and we were able to, do our own religion out in the open, and it's just the irony of that, because of this country was supposed to be based on freedom of religion, is kind of a joke. And so we always want to keep our eyes open with what's going on. We don't want our politicians to come in for the 2 months before the election and start saying how great we are and then disappear. And so it's really great that you're staying plugged in, Nancy, because we have to hold everybody accountable, and not just our politicians, but everyone.
Right. I think we all have to do our part. And Audrey Thayer spoke to that last night about being elected an official that, they're not going to always make the decisions because they actually serve the people. And I think, yesterday was a good reminder to the rest of the city council that, it's time to really listen to the community, especially our Indigenous community, because again, we're a big part of the economic prosperity. And we also have solutions to pollutions. And I think, our culture will bring a lot of that forth. And creating spaces and holding that space in a peaceful, powerful way is really key to defending our treaties, even our Ho-Chunk relatives, here in Minnesota. So I encourage people just to step out of their comfort zones and keep showing up, because in the beginning of all this work, Robert, I remember being gavelled. I remember being talked down to. I remember being missed. But you know what? We kept showing up, and we kept showing up in a good way until we were finally heard. And now it's like yesterday at the city council, it was so positive, Robert. And I knew every elected official there, because that's my goal, is to keep showing up and reminding them that they work for us and that treaties matter. So all you people out there listening, I want you all to do the same. Just keep showing up and don't let them beat you down, because you know what? This is our power, and we're going to keep showing up and reminding them that we're still here.
Wow, Nancy, that is such a great point. People, 90% of life is showing up, and when you show up, some of these politicians, possibly in your original escapade with them, are no longer around. So you have a new group of people that think you've been around forever because they just came around. So show up and speak your mind and be there. That's such a great point.
Right. And we have some new ones coming in. They're going to be sworn in on July 3rd, and some of those are non-native allies. And we're talking about some local get-togethers and building on that treaty relationship. So that's going to be some of my work moving forward into 2023. And I can't thank the voters enough for showing up and voting. But Robert, we also have a lot of work to do for 2024, because I'm in a red district here, and we can't have that. And so looking into 2024 and building community, we're gonna show up and knock on your door. So be waiting for it.
Awesome. What great way to end it. Nancy Beaulieu, Bemidji 350, our treaty lady. Wow, that kind of rhymed. Up in the deep north. Thank you so much for dropping in and being on as usual. And I guess our next segment, Ogma, it's going to be you and me talking about hardships of being who we are. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, we'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake. Peeny Gigi, Nancy.
Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Health insurance that fits my budget, I'm covered. I needed health coverage I could count on and afford. MNsure helped me find a plan that works for me, and they helped me save money. Did you know that most Minnesotans qualify for savings through MNsure? And they have free experts who can help you sign up for coverage. Go to mnsure.org today and get started and get covered. That's mnsure.org. mnsure.org.
We at AM 950 wanted to offer more thank you gifts for the great listeners who have become members. Brand new for 2023, AM 950 has the new National Parks poster featuring photos I took at the national parks. Members who sign up for a one-time $99.50 membership or recurring $25 per month membership will receive the brand new AM 950 National Parks poster and the AM 950 2023 calendar as a thank you. Go to am950radio.com, click on the tab, and become a member now. Thank you so much for supporting AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves. Please join Howling for Wolves on Wolf Day, Tuesday, February 7th, 2023 at the Minnesota State Capitol. You can sign up on Howling for Wolves event page. Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
Robert, are we howling again?
We be a hollowing all the time.
All right. This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations. Oh.
Hey, welcome back. This is Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake. And I don't know, Ogma, I know you're a busy camper, but see some backlash here on the Avatar here again. The first one was out in 2009, and now we have another one out here. And a lot of Native Americans, including myself, feel like boycotting this movie, there's a lot of Native American groups are protesting the release of James Cameron's Avatar. The sequel over resurfaced comments from the director in 2010. Cameron campaigned against the building of a giant hydraulic dam in the Amazon, spoke about how he was inspired to write Avatar after learning from indigenous people. I felt like I was 130 years back in time watching what the Lakota Sioux might have been saying at that point when they were being pushed and being killed, and they were being asked to displace, and they were being given some form of compensation. This was a driving force for me in writing Avatar. I couldn't help but think of that the Lakota Sioux had a time window, and they could see their future, and they could see their kids committing suicide at the highest rates, and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah,
right.
I've seen some of those comments. So for everybody who's maybe not up to date with that, James Cameron, the writer and director, I believe, of Avatar 2, made some comments to the Guardian news site, saying basically that if the Lakota Sioux could have seen into the future and seen what's happening in a lot of places and a lot of reservations now, and said directly because they were hopeless and they were a dead end society, which is what is happening now, they would have fought a lot harder. So there's so much wrong with that statement, literally so much. And I don't disagree with the people who are calling for boycotts of the film. Some people are calling for protests stating that James Cameron made Avatar to inspire all of our dead ancestors to, quote, fight harder. This happens a lot with non-native people when they write stories that involve native people. They tend to they tend to put in their own perspective into the story, and they tend to write the story to fit that perspective. So he wrote this story to fit his perspective that he apparently believes that Native people should have somehow fought harder, specifically the Lakota Sioux. But every Native person and every Indigenous community that existed on the planet Earth has been colonized and murdered and displaced through some form of throughout some place in history. And continuing to tell people that, this is a hopeless and a dead end society, and that if our ancestors would have fought harder, we would be in a better place. I mean, you would never say that. I don't think anybody would ever say that about, Vikings or about, you know, uh, people who are big fans of Christopher Columbus. Like those same things would not be said about, their conquering, that they would have done better had they fought harder. Like this is
Let
outrageous.
let's be clear, when, the settlers, and I put the quotes up, they came in thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and overwhelmed, a lot of native communities. So, native communities reached out in a good way and ended up, regretting that, and that's just a quick summary of what happened to a lot of our people because, they lied to us in many ways.
Mhm.
And, we're getting close to the 1862 Sioux Uprising, which a lot of people like to call here in Minnesota, and which entails the mass hanging of 38, the largest mass hanging of anybody, but there happened to be 38 plus two Native Americans that Lincoln signed to let hang here in Mankato, Minnesota. And so, the reason why that uprising came up was because our people down there were being starved to death,
Mhm.
and they weren't given things that they were promised to them. And one store owner said, "Let them eat grass," and he was found murdered and with grass stuffed in his mouth. So, you know, we like those stories, but we also know that we've been lied to, Ogama, for
Right.
generations.
Exactly. And, I've been reading on some of this on Twitter, and somebody talked about this term blue face that's been coined after the film came out, Avatar, the first film came out in 2009. So James Cameron essentially takes non-Indigenous folks to play the Na'vi characters, which is an alien race that is based on many indigenous cultures, and based on meaning appropriated from. And not only appropriated, but he takes those cultures and blends them together indiscriminately or blatantly, and then has non-native people voice or play them. And it's a combination of red face, black face, yellow face, and racist tools that creator used to justify not validating the experiences and voices of Black, Indigenous, and other marginalized people, and people of color specifically. So this term blueface has been around since Avatar came through. And, you know, initially when that first movie came out, I think I did really enjoy it initially. And as time went on and I watched it more than one time, I was really starting to feel differently about it. And I I came across this term several years ago, and I agree, where you just appropriate whatever you want. It's like you pull whatever you want down from underneath the kitchen sink about Native people and their culture, and you just make up a Native culture. And as a non-Native person, then you put your own perspective into it. And instead of actually talking with people who are indigenous, with people who are fighting these battles, you have just taken and made, how much did the film gross?
Oh, it's a top grossing film of all time, and,
$435 million globally over the past weekend, um,
yes, yes.
off of the backs of the Native people that, you believe should have fought harder, um, to prevent their kids from committing suicide? I mean,
Yeah.
like, all of those things are happening because settlers came and and
Yeah.
systematically destroyed and continued to systematically demean our culture and our ways of life.
We
And
don't have to see the movie, we can do a double thumbs down. We should probably get your husband on this show because there's more than one movie recently, uh, that we could talk about because, I had you mentioned you kinda liked the first Avatar, and I did too, before I started putting 2 to 2 together, but,
Mhm.
what's that one, Disney show that came out with the blonde and the redhead, that just came out a few years
Frozen, that,
Yeah,
that
and that's a
appropriated
fun
from the Sami
Yeah.
people. Yes, in Europe,
Yes.
there's an indigenous people called the Sami people, and Frozen 2, had quite a bit of appropriation from that, and we could talk about Moana as well too, which appropriates from the Hawaiian people, as
Yeah.
well, and, I mean, I think a lot of Native people are still fans of Avatar in the same way that they may be fans of Moana, um,
Well,
and we're all
there's some
entitled to our
people
opinions, but I just wanted
r
to come out and talk about those comments
well,
being sickening.
there's a lot of there's a lot of people out there that are still Packer fans too. Hey, great show, Ogama. Thanks, Nancy Bolio. We'll be back tomorrow. Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Free Leonard Peltier now.
'Tis the season to be jolly, and nothing makes me jollier than a clean home. If you